Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Streaming Media NYC. This room is turning into a debate club for the next few hours. So no sales pitches, no pre-agreed questions and answers, nothing like that. It's all about learning, exchanging. And to do that, we've put together an amazing lineup of moderators and debaters. But we need a great room, so I want you guys to cheer on everyone today. I'll be looking at you. I'm sitting right here. And by the way, my name is Marion Ranchet. I'm the one who curated this track for you guys today, and I hope you're going to have a great time. So let me introduce my first moderator for this afternoon, Cynthia. Welcome. So Cynthia is the founder of Luminacion. You've been in the biz for many years. You've helped build lifestyle and content platforms for brands like Walmart, NBC, Amazon, you name it. There's so much experience packed in this woman. It's insane. So she's going to be the first one to kick off this afternoon about AI. So without further ado, Cynthia.
Thank you so much. Is my mic? Oh, my mic is working. Awesome. So when we originally started thinking about debates for AI, it was kind of funny because all of us are in AI in some way, shape, or form, and frankly, the world is in AI. So rather than doing a straight debate, I'm going to ask a panelist a specific question. They're going to give their viewpoint related to it, and then we're going to discuss and/or debate it in that way. Also, this is super interactive, so the audience, we can send mics to you guys as well. Please ask questions before, during, and after. I don't want to wait all the way to the end. That's the format and setup for it. Like I said, we all are very, I call it EIEIO, AIAIO. We hear it all the time. There's all various different parts of it and different styles of it and different apps that are coming out and different, you guys know about this too. What it's going to do to the industries that we're all in, I think is really where kind of the debate starts. And what's going to happen in the future, who knows what's going to be in 5 years, right? So that's kind of our standard format for it. I'm going to let each one of the panelists introduce themselves. They will do a much better job than me by far. And then I will start the panel. I do have a cowbell here. So if someone's going like off the range, so to speak, or gets out of control, they will have the cowbell. I don't think that'll happen, but if it does, I will be the one ringing it. I'm going to have you guys go one at a time and introduce yourselves. Go ahead, Braden.
Say like what I do?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, my name is Braden Blacker. I'm a talent manager and business strategist at an agency called Fixated, and our current roster does a little over 3 billion views a month across social media platforms.
And I want to say one thing about Braden was a last ad because he's 17 years old. He has a full-time job in LA for a big agency. It's a 3-year contract with an agency as a talent manager, an actual talent manager, and walked in the door with talent directly. He will be running, this is the future of AI and the future of talent. It is not us geezers up here. It is definitely this kid. And so I wanted to bring him on to give a little bit different spin to what's happening from a creator perspective. Sorry.
Thank you.
I wanted to give you a little.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Cynthia. Carissa Price. I work for a company called Dragonfruit.ai. Obviously, AI is in our name. I think, but what makes what I have to share here probably most relevant to all of you is I worked for the largest advertiser in the U.S. Hispanic market for about 10 years. And it was a brand that direct response TV built. So very well versed in performance media, if you will. Worked for Walmart for 3 years, leading marketing strategy for their food, consumables, and health and wellness business. And chose to go to Dragonfruit because it is the future is now, and our company essentially takes video streams and puts AI analytics on it to do a variety of applications for the physical world, and happy to share about that. And I have a 16-year-old son, so 1 year younger than Braden, who, thanks to him, I know who Mr. Beast is and things like that. So it is a crazy world out there, and looking forward to the conversation.
And you're a new author as well.
Yes, and I have a book on purpose, living your purpose and how to be purposely productive.
Hi, I'm Steve Shipp. I'm the co-founder of Creative Intel, and we're using AI to solve the age-old problem of people not being able to afford legal or not understanding the legal that they're signing. We're focused on the music and film and creative industries, and we currently have a product out called the Academy, Creative Intel Academy, that is full courses on the contracts of the entertainment industry. It's the only place where you can actually get a contract and the information and breakdown that anybody can understand. And we're currently in private beta on a deal-making platform that drafts, negotiates, signs, and data mines contracts, all using AI.
Hi, Cynthia. Thanks for including us.
You're welcome.
My name's Liz Blacker, and it's great to be here. See some old friends and new friends. And I work at Sabio Holdings. We're a leader in the technology space, specializing in CTV and helping agencies and clients reach, engage, and validate their audiences. And we are minority owned, and we have a great secret sauce specialty in the multicultural space. And we also have an app science proprietary research and data arm that enables us to help our clients understand behavior and what our users are doing across different landscapes from mobile to the CTV space with our household graph of 55 million households. So we're using AI in all of that. So we'll get to talk about that soon.
Hi, I'm Rob Tercek. It's nice to be back in New York and see some old friends I haven't seen in a long time. For about 30 years, I've been designing and launching digital services, whether it's cable TV or pay TV services, streaming media services, or game platforms. I've done that in about 50 countries around the world. And today I run my own boutique advisory firm. I work with CEOs on long-term strategic planning. And 4 of my clients are focused on applying AI in film production or motion picture production.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. It's really great. I know you would do a much better job at introducing yourselves than I would, even though I've known all of you, except for Robert, for 20-something years, and you since you were a baby. So I'm going to start off with Robert, actually. What is the most intense debate on AI in media and entertainment today?
Wow. It's a controversial subject, so there's a lot of debates. I think there are 2 that everybody's familiar with. Right now, there's obviously an intense debate about the use of copyrighted works to train large language models. So that's one intense debate. And the other one is the idea that somehow AI is going to displace all of us and we're all going to lose our jobs to some kind of intelligent machine. Personally, I don't think these are the most interesting or relevant debates. I think there's a lot of topics that we should be focused on. And these 2 controversies kind of cloud the other topics. For instance, large technology companies would like to encourage us all to migrate our workflows to the cloud, and they're encouraging us to adopt AI and apply it to our workflows. And to me, that's something we should be very, very cautious about, because that means we're going to adapt our workflows to a proprietary system in a cloud, and that starts to look an awful lot like a roach motel. Easy to check in, hard to check out. AI also raises questions about authorship. And again, I don't think we're thinking about this enough. The copyright question doesn't really address it squarely, it sort of addresses it sideways. But what is an author in an era when we're using machines to generate content, and who are the authors? It might be multiple parties. So that's an interesting topic that I think could benefit from more focus. I'm going to stop there because we could continue all day on these topics, but my point, I guess, is simply there's a big distraction campaign going on right now with copyright conflicts and this kind of theoretical question about whether AI is going to displace us. I think there are much more pressing near-term issues to focus on.
Thoughts? Panelists, thoughts?
Well, I don't think you can completely separate the copyright, though, because certainly when it comes to music, people, I don't think, really grasp the fact that it's a name and likeness issue. So when you're training an AI to sound like Drake, you're using his name and likeness. And there's been very little lawsuits so far to sort of shake that out.
That's because it's not covered by copyright. That's covered by right to publicity laws. Which
No,
are
it is.
only in New York, California.
It still fringes on copyright.
It's not. Copyright doesn't address name and likeness. It doesn't address style. You can't copyright a style. I mean, look, I get it. People are trying to conflate the issue, but I think that's the point, right? We're pointing to copyright as the mechanism to govern this new technology. But copyright is not going to supply us.
But copyright is the current the ability to sue with, right? So it comes back to copyright, and I think what's interesting is Nashville or Tennessee leading the way with the Elvis Act, which is name and likeness is generally a state by state issue. It's not a federal issue. And Nashville, in this Elvis Act, has opened the door for lawsuit for your name and likeness and music copyright. I think that's an interesting thing, and I think that there's going to have to be a lot of lawsuits in order to shake all of this out.
I have a question though. How do you we think about advertising in the past and we'd use watermarks or different things, right? The pixels or watermarks to track and trace creative just to give, the responsibility or back to the owner. How do we trace what's real creatively besides copywriting traditionally?
I mean, I think it's going to go down to proving what's in the model and whether it was used in the model to begin with.
I think that's what's fascinating, though. So at our company, we have a weekly all hands. And one of the co-founders, started with sharing an image from DALL-E as an opening image for this. Mm-hmm. And so every week we're talking about this. And back to your point, it's not clear cut because even the tech company behind DALL-E is trying to put in protective measures, so you can't straight out say, give me a picture. It's called Dragonfruit, so we call ourselves Dragon. So every week it's a different thing with dragons, right? Give me a Gustav Klimt-like picture with dragons. You can't use those branded terms. It won't do that. But if you allude to it, it will actually give you something like the kiss with the dragon. It was beautiful. Who created that? Is the person who actually spoke the prompt to DALL-E, the creator of that image? Is there a copyright or a trademark infringement because you're using something that's actually from an artist? Like it's crazy times right now.
Yeah, I mean, we have answers to those two questions. So the Copyright Office has already ruled twice that a artwork generated by a machine cannot be eligible for copyright. Copyright is reserved for human creators. And by the way, for any motion picture company that's considering using these technologies, that's a factor you've got to really take into consideration if you're going to develop a show and use AI in any part of it, because those parts can't be copyrighted. The second thing is it's really important for people to understand that doing something in the style of Gustav Klimt or even a living artist, that is not prohibited by copyright. Copyright only covers works. So you can't mimic a work, you can't copy somebody's work, but you can absolutely generate work in the style of that person. And some folks are trying to use right to publicity laws, which exist in New York and California, apparently also in Tennessee. But a right to publicity law is governing your name and likeness, so you can't do something that looks like me or sounds like me, or perhaps they could stretch it to cover in my style. This is unproven, and so far, of the 16 major copyright suits against AI companies, all of those claims have been dismissed by the judge. So far, we're not seeing any progress in that direction. I'm not going to predict the future. I don't think any of us can. You can't these days tell with any kind of accuracy what a court's going to determine because we live in turbulent times. But I think it's really important to understand that people are trying to throw everything they possibly can into this one set of laws that we have, copyright laws. It really was not designed to solve those problems or to govern these things. So if anything, we need a new set of laws. And it is true, right now, the way our system works is you have to do all this in a court, because all of these involve different fact patterns, and that can only be determined in a courtroom. So yeah, we have 16 cases, and there'll probably be many more, and we'll be litigating this matter for 10 years or more.
So I want to move just for a second, because I think that was a great kind of roll into Braden, because we're talking about copyright and creators, and he's working with, again, like I said, we're not the ones who are going to be using AI. It's this generation who grew up digital native, that actually is going to drive the next generation of AI and the usage. But I'd like to know from you, Braden, how are these young creators dealing with AI? Is it good or bad? How do you help them leverage it? And what do you see as trademarkable, copyrightable in this new world?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely pros and cons with AI, as it is for any industry. I think that one of the biggest pros is for creators that aren't making as much money, like the mid-tier, smaller creators. It's a great thing because, when they couldn't afford an editor, or they couldn't afford someone to make their imagery, or, help optimize their workflow, they can now utilize AI to make more YouTube videos and increase their output, which is actually a great thing. And I think that's actually very helpful for a lot of mid-tier creators to scale and get to be, a creator that's able to make 6 or 7 figures a year, which I've seen personally that, things such as Opus AI, where you can take any video, put it in there, automatically make you clips that you can put on TikTok. I mean, that's exploded so many different podcasts. And I've seen, podcasts that started on a couple $100s or a couple $1,000s now scale to making, multi-million dollars a year due to AI applications like that. But, at the same time, I think one of the biggest cons is, even with people on my roster, I've seen, dating apps and different mobile applications have taken their faces, changed them a little bit, and then used them for TikTok ads, Facebook ads, and Instagram ads. And it's extremely difficult to go at them and do anything to get it taken down. And at the same time, there's no compensation for that. So I think that one of the biggest things has to be, figuring out how to trademark these creators and also get more protection on YouTube videos and TikTok videos and Instagram videos. Because as of now, if you put up a video and it gets 30 million views on TikTok and someone posts it again on TikTok, there's not much you can do. And they can also be earning on that video and getting millions of views and generating 5 figures or 6 figures off that one TikTok, and you're not getting any compensation from that. So I think there's a lot of work that has to be done with the copyright and the actual trademarking of content throughout social media.
Thoughts? Comments? Okay, the 17-year-old just shut it all down. We're done. Now we're done. Thank you so much. Steve, what do you think is the most contentious thing that you believe to be true about AI?
I think that, Robert was touching on it with cloud. I think that a lot of times that people don't realize that the information they're putting and the things that they're doing, they're training and sharing information that maybe they would want to be private. And the privacy's not a lot of privacy protection.
Thoughts? Related or other?
I think that's true, and I think it is a serious concern. And like so many things, it even builds on what Braden said, right? The law is 2, 5, 10 steps behind in trying to deal with the world that we're already living in. And I will say, in the world that I currently inhabit with Dragonfruit, we're using AI on video streams, so video cameras that are already in physical locations. And there's one state that I know of that actually has a fairly aggressive privacy law around that. It's Illinois. And there was a lawsuit, again, in the courts to bring it out, of someone who was filmed in a store, and that film was used to prosecute them. But there was no warning that they were being filmed and how the video was going to be used. Now, you could say, well, they're a crook, they stole, why shouldn't they be prosecuted? But the truth of the matter is they had a right to disclosure. The state of Illinois passed this and it's a right. So then you have that ripple effect through the whole ecosystem of you've got protection there, but you don't have protection for people who are creators on social media getting their videos ripped off and monetized by somebody else. So I think it is a complex issue of where we as a society want to draw these lines for what purpose, to what end of the kind of world we want to live in. And, we all saw 24. We've all seen shows of this idea that cameras are watching you at all times. Like, talk about a serious violation of your privacy, that you could find somebody at any point in any day. That already exists in England. That is how they use their CCTV cameras here. We don't, because of the kind of government we have that is very driven by states' rights. But it's coming. It's available from a technological perspective. It can be done today. But this issue of privacy and to what end, we need to tackle. And it's a very thorny one from my perspective.
I think we're seeing sort of a lot of things happening at once, because there's the privacy issue, which we're kind of afraid of. But on the other hand, we're in marketing and we want to target people and we want to reach the right audience. And so we're swimming in a bunch of lanes at the same time right now. And just trying to figure it out. So there's been such a pullback with cookies and targeting, which for so many years made so many companies, a lot of us worked at, money. So now we can't use the word targeting, but we're talking about curating audiences or building clusters, which, and that's a big part of what we do, is we really help our clients and agencies reach the right audience. But you have to be really careful, like what you say these days and how you say it. So I think we're trying to do two things. I have a friend who's an attorney, a partner at a law firm in New York, and she works in IP. So I think that's a good area to be in right now, to be a lawyer in the IP space, based on what we're talking about. But she just had a lawsuit. It was in the in the paper 2 weeks ago. Pink sued Drake. Is it Drake? Braden would know. I think it was Drake, because he was launching like a side business. It was PNK, but it sounds like pink, so the likeness was too much like it, and that she was concerned. You know, it was only for one business line, but if he took PNK to do other merch deals or collabs or anything, the likeness to her company, and that's just like a name. We're not even talking about something, you know, her face or a product she built or a creator. So I think we're sort of figuring it out as we go, and it's super complicated, but it's also fun. I mean, we're kind of in the Wild West in a bit, which we were in 20 years ago when we all met doing digital in the beginning of the internet. So we're gonna get some bruises on the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me see if I can build on some of the things that these people said, because I think Stephen raised a really good point, and Karissa, you built on it in an interesting way. I'd love to see if I can tie these things together. You know, when we think about digital media, we tend to think about media companies like motion picture companies and television companies and so on. And we tend to think that the issues we're talking about pertain only to those businesses. But in fact, all of us are creating media all day long, right? As you walk around New York City with a phone in your pocket, you're leaving a trail of data smog that's being collected by hundreds of companies. Right now, about 300 companies know that we are all in this room because our phones are in close proximity. They don't need to know you personally to know that, but they're going to collect a profile. They're going to know that we have some things in common because we're in this room together. That data is incredibly useful for marketers, obviously. There are no rights right now. There's no rules really to govern that. A couple of states, we've kind of got this patchwork system of implementing rules around that. And you might wonder, why is that the case? You know, why is it that our government is so incredibly inept when it comes to protecting citizens and their data? And so we might look at who pays Congress. You know, right now, the technology companies will spend under $100 million this year on marketing, something in the neighborhood of about $80 million. Meta will spend about $20 million. Alphabet will spend about $20 million on lobbying Congress. And that sounds like a lot of money until you consider that Comcast spends almost $300 million, AT&T spends $300 million, Verizon spends $300 million, and many other trade associations, the NAB, they spend about $300 million as well. So literally billions of dollars are being spent right now to encourage Congress to take no action, to do nothing to change the system that we have currently. They're paying for inaction. If you wonder why there's so much gridlock, so much pantomime, so much theatrical output, but very little concrete action being done in Congress right now, that's because our representatives are being paid to do that. And so our rights are not currently being represented. The issues that we're articulating on this panel, they're not really reflected in the laws that we have. And there is no prospect in the near term that new laws will be enacted. I see no opportunity for that this year because it's an election, and very little likelihood that's going to get resolved after the election if control of the both houses is split once again. So unfortunately, we're stuck in this spot. There's a lot of money to be made, and you generate a lot of data. And that data is getting gathered right now. Now, why the big media companies, the big tech companies are focused on AI in particular. Think about, why is Microsoft so aggressively pushing OpenAI and GPT-4 into all of the users of Office via Copilot? You know, about 65 different products are going to have Copilot integrated into it. What's in it for Microsoft? They're losing money on every single one of those people. Why would they do this? Their big rival is Alphabet. They want to go after Google's dominance of search. Search is the largest category of software right now. And Microsoft's CEO makes no secret of his desire to dethrone Google from that perch. And their approach is going to be to hoover up data. When you interact with Copilot, you're going to reveal so much information about yourself. We don't tend to think about our input when we're using these tools. We tend to think about the output because that's our intention. That's what we're looking to create. We want to make a picture. We want to generate some text. We want to generate some script, right? So we're focused on the output, but we're not thinking about what we're giving away. Now imagine that you're in an office and you're using a suite of Microsoft tools and you're using Copilot to help you compose an email to your boss asking for a raise, or you're trying to communicate with someone over a messaging app and you want to communicate some personal stuff. All of that information, to the extent that you use Copilot, is going to be observed, and they're going to start to know a lot more about you. And for a marketer, this is a dream. So the opportunity here is to do targeted marketing on a level that we've never experienced in the past. And I think that's a principal reason why the tech companies are investing billions of dollars in this space.
And it seems like they're going to hold all of us in media and entertainment pretty much hostage and tax us for it, tax us for the future, as you said when we had our conversation originally, which I thought was really brilliant, is they win. They seem to be the big winners in this, not the media, entertainment, and streaming people. it seems to be tech is going to lead the way.
If you have a business with 1,000 employees today, and you're asked to pay another $20 a month for each one of them to use Copilot, that's a crazy good business for Microsoft, right? But that's not even the heart of it. Like,
Yeah.
they're doing that so that you don't switch to another service, right? You're gonna pay for that one. You'll be locked into their service. But really, the data angle here, I think, is the big opportunity, and the idea that you're going to migrate your workflow to their platform and then be entrenched, right? Eventually, you'll streamline all your processes on that particular cloud or that particular AI, and that feels a lot like the Microsoft lock-in that we experienced in the 1990s.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to switch really quickly to retail media a little bit, because there's just a lot going on in retail media, and it seems like it's the brand new thing, but frankly, we know it's been around for a really long time. Karissa, there's a lot of buzz about it, but is it helping? Is it hurting? You kind of started talking about it a little bit, but I want to know, kind of in a deep perspective, how you guys are actually utilizing it and some of the things you've run into as well.
So a couple of things in my perspective on that is, one, 150, probably 170 million people walk into a Walmart every week. So while the advertising and media industry tends to think about digital, the vast majority of eyeballs that Walmart serves up, and they're not alone, are in the physical store. And so what actually hooked me into coming to Dragonfruit was they showed the CEO, who I've been advising, he showed me a video and the analytics that was possible, just like e-commerce. Using the cameras they already had, you could know exactly the metrics that you know for digital advertising. I can see how many people walk in, I can see exactly where they go, I can see if they engage, I can see if they pick it off the shelf, I can see if they put it in their basket, and I can connect the POS data to know if they actually converted. Like, that's revolutionary, using AI, of course, right? Video cameras they already have. Like, that's what's coming to retail media. Now, having worked at Walmart for 3 years in the advent of Walmart Connect, that's what CPG companies want. They view retail media as a tax. It is a tax, because they could never see how their dollars were actually driving any kind of sales the way that they could in the digital world. Now, with this technology, and we're not the only ones who are promised or able to deliver this, it is revolutionary for retail media, because now you can actually see, okay, if I invest $10 here, I'm going to get Y in terms of lift for sales. You can see how your end caps are performing. You can see all sorts of things that had only existed in the digital world. And AI is making that possible. Now you get to other things. And again, as a marketer, I'm with you, Liz, of it's a catch-22. I'm the least person open to marketing pushes. I hate personalization. It's just creepy to me. I don't want you to know. And I mean, who here has not had the experience if you're talking to someone about something? You're not even searching. You're talking to someone about something and your phone is in the room. And now all of a sudden, every ad you see is for some Adidas tennis shoes. You never searched for it. You didn't think. That's the world we live in. And as marketers, we know this. But back to sort of tie it all together, as Rob did, of like, lawyers at Walmart would tell me, oh, no, Karissa, you can't actually use that data for marketing for X, Y, and Z. That's PHI, because I've worked in healthcare, and that's why I went to Walmart in the first place. And it's like, I can rent a list for cents. I'll know your name, your age, your gender, anything about you. Yet the laws are telling us, oh, that's personal information. That's protected. You can't use that. Like, are you joking? We're now in a world where for retail media, using your phone, walking into a store, not just Walmart, any of them, they'll know who you are. They'll be serving up an ad that reflects your latest shopping patterns and a promotion just for you. And that's in the physical world now, not just in the digital world. And it'll be everywhere you go. All of a sudden, you'll be seeing a billboard that's like, hey, Robert, would you like to take advantage of a 20% off at Starbucks in Times Square? And it's changing every moment, right, as someone else walks by. That is the world we live in, and that is what's possible. And the marketer part of me is like, oh, isn't that cool? I can do all this great targeting, all this great creative. The consumer part of me is like, oh, my God, I don't want that. I'm just going to go back to my Idaho bubble and run. But that is what's possible in retail media. That is what's coming. And we all participate in it, right? We all participate in this economy that creates this as an output.
I mean, a con, I could say, and because you're collecting a lot of data in the store, I imagine that you're also connecting and collecting data related to theft.
Yes.
So profiling people with AI, it seems like a sticky issue, no? I mean,
Well, as I will
if
say-
you start to do racial profile, I mean, if you're using
So
video
here's what the loss
cameras-
prevention
Yep.
people in retail will tell you.
Yep.
Guess what? Human bias is far more prevalent than AI bias. So humans are doing profiling all day long. That security guard is looking at your age, your race, what you have on, et cetera, and following the young black man in a hoodie around the store far before he's following you and I.
Yeah.
And you and I could be shoplifting till the cows come home, but they're not going to look at us and think, oh. So at least with AI, you have a chance to train it to actually work on gestures, which is what we do. We're using actual motion. It isn't racial profiling. That has to be the engine
But
behind.
you can imagine
But
a
people
lawyer
imagine
saying-
that is what's happening.
You-
But it actually is
Yeah.
less biased
Yeah.
than humans.
But you can imagine
Yeah.
lawyers not taking
course.
completely the opposite if you arrest somebody and they feel like they were profiled because they know you videoed them for specific reasons and you were using AI. I mean, that's, again, we're back in the courts.
Can I bring a counter for a second?
Yes.
So I don't mind it personally as much. And maybe I feel like it's super efficient. Like I love the idea of like personal messaging while I'm in the store. I love the idea. We had an Uber recently in LA and he's launching a startup, which I guess is so LA. And so he's launching a startup in the retail space for a AI stylist. And I was like, that's brilliant. So I can put it on my sizes and the styles of stuff I want. And this person can recommend clothing to me either online or in a store. I mean, imagine if you could go to Macy's or Bloomingdale's or Target, wherever you shop, and you get there and there's a dressing room filled with all this stuff for you to try on.
But the difference there is that you're opting into that.
Right.
And what she's describing is you have no idea it's being done at the same time. So it's all about it's about your information, the privacy, and I think that they'll
Happy medium.
Yeah, well, I think that there's has to be an alternate set of tools at some point that allow you to control your name and your likeness and your this is kind of what the promise of Web3 and blockchain. It hasn't delivered it yet, but that's what the promise has been.
It's almost like when you go invisible on Waze. Like, could you be invisible? Could you block yourself? Like notifications are silent. There's a way to do that for privacy down the road. I don't know.
Anybody, any comments from the audience related to this? This is kind of like one of those fun topics. Do you like it? Creepy? Oh, here.
Yeah, I just shift a little bit because when I think about how powerful these things are, they've already hoovered up all this stuff. So I don't know if I quite agree with the idea. Like, I do think we have to walk by. But something happening on the AI front. You have more companies with more power doing all these things.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of just see if we could shift back to the AI piece of it, how that's going to change and get to this copyright authorship thing. I'll just like poke a little bit. Like, I love the youth. Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm also thankful I'm still young enough to take advantage of this next revolution. It's going to rewrite everything. But the thing that I find most interesting is that you're basically in this situation like, hey, other people are ripping off my TikToks. And it's like there's a whole corpus of data out there that you do a search for Mammoth on OpenAI.
Yeah.
Ice Age.
Right.
People at Paramount don't love that, right?
Yeah.
You talk about the CTO of OpenAI in public with Joanna Stern. Oh, how did you train these things? Oh, public data. Oh, you mean YouTube? So like you post YouTube, there's terms of service. It's not like a complete free flow.
Yeah.
I kind of want to dive a little more into like that piece of it because I think that's going to be hugely meaningful, whether it's authorship or copyright, and how that is going to take us forward.
Yes.
I think, so what's missing for me in this conversation, and it's creepy for me, because I think in all these conversations, there's a profound power imbalance. Like all of us in this room kind of know and can wink and use things like to use the right words,
Yeah.
do the right things, we're not going to get in trouble legally. But the bottom line is that ultimately we are really truly mining a lot of PII. We wink at it, and our customers and clients do not know about it. And I personally think that as this generation grows up, and I know for my children, they're not as comfortable with being as publicly available. They may be on TikTok, but they're extremely concerned about their personal privacy. And I think that it's going to be a wake-up moment when there's going to be a massive overreaction to how all that private data is being used. And it's incumbent on us to be a bit more careful about how cavalierly we use private data.
I mean, are we Elon Musk where anything fucking goes? You know, like you just do whatever you want, say whatever you want. I mean, are we that, or do we need to put guardrails around it? Like,
But the data brokers are.
yeah.
Everything goes, right? And they are a gigantic industry who spend very heavily. on
Yeah.
this. And 99% of the American consumers have zero idea that they exist.
I mean, I think Robert and I did talk about this earlier when we had a private conversation. Was OpenAI holding back Sora for public? Why would they be doing that right now? Any guess? Any guess? Why they would hold back public use of Sora? That's exactly right. They do not want people going in and creating videos of Trump, Biden, or whoever, and making them look so realistic that you actually think that that's true. That is a reason they're holding it back, because they do not want to get into that issue until 2025 is right around the corner. After January, who knows what the hell they're going to do.
So there's a through line here that I think has to be addressed also. You mentioned the word, you're of a certain generation. Oh, thank you. So the through line that I think we have to remember is that it's generational. And the media and marketing industry has never been good at educating the average consumer on how to do anything from, disconnect your CTV and be a cord cutter to protecting your own data. So we have a responsibility here that we all kind of know what we're talking about. But in general, we don't know how to educate the consumer to protect their own data, other than Braden.
Well, and are we purposefully doing that?
Yeah,
Is that just purposeful? That we don't want to train people to protect their own data because we want to use that data for marketing purposes? Drill down. Yep.
Hi, folks. Interesting panel debate. I'm really interested in the term AI and its use and misuse itself. I did AI at university in the early 90s, and really nothing much has changed. Big data's changed, machine learning's changed, but AI is really misused term that we're sticking on everything. And most of these topics, I would think of really IT issues, not AI issues. They're privacy issues, they're big data storage issues, they're recommendations engines issues. But at the moment, everything's getting tarred with this AI brush because it's very trendy. And that concerns me much more than AI itself, if I'm honest. So I just wanted to throw that.
Yeah, we
across
call
the
it
table.
AI, EI, AI, because it's like
Exactly.
a duck here and a AI here. It's everywhere you want to be, right?
You can't get any other conversation onto the table because everyone.
Well, there's a
wants to
reason
talk
for
about
that, though. I mean, that's not an accident. There's a reason why that's the issue, and it does tie together all the comments. The change in the last 10 years has been the advent of neural networks and large language models. Generative AI is distinctly different from analytical or predictive AI, the kind of AI we've been using for 30 years. So there has been a change, and the large language models consume enormous amounts of data. We all know that. That's not news to anybody in this room. So there's a quest for more data. Right, we want to put these systems in front of people so that we can extract more data from those users. We want to raid publicly available works, whether or not that's copyright infringement, right? That's a controversial issue right now. Basically, technology companies are looking for ways to find additional data to train their models because there is an arms race going on, and it's not limited to Silicon Valley. It's around the world. These technology companies in every part of the world are trying to build a better model than anyone else. Given that, you're right. I mean, Cynthia, it's kind of a free-for-all, right? So the way technology companies look at the space, and marketers, I'd argue, they look at it and say, well, there's an awful lot of free data available. Why not use that? There's no law stopping me from using it. We might all have our own ethical qualms about that, and I understand that. I'm not trying to advocate for those companies, but that's how they see it. And they have 20 years of case law in federal courts to suggest that they're right about that. Because so far, case law says that training on publicly available data is actually permissible. It's a fair use of data, including copyrighted works. Now, that may change because there are a lot of lawsuits coming, so we'll find out if that still holds up in the future. But so far, the signal has been very clear. It's up for grabs. There is a ton of data. We're generating more data every single day. With every new device that we use, with every new interaction that we do, we're throwing off a ton of data. That's a free resource to mine. And when resources are free, they tend to get exploited. That's natural, right? There's nothing surprising about that. Can we shift this conversation away from dystopia towards something a little bit more constructive. I mean, I can go down this route all day long if you want, but
I was going to say you're the one that would go down that route, but yes, we can. We have a question.
well, okay.
Yeah, we have. Okay, got the cowbell. Cowbell.
Just to throw back, I think you immediately conflated large language models and generative pre-transforms as AIs. And they're not, they're machine learning models. They're tensor maths. It's not new, and they're not AIs. So not in a strict sense of AI. So I think that at that point, if you're going to be
you want to have a
pedantic about
semantic
the term-
debate. I think generally speaking, if you ask technology companies today whether large language models are artificial intelligence, I think they would all confer with me that they are.
NLP, machine learning, large language models are all considered under the category of AI these days.
And whether or not they're new, it depends on how you define new. I mean, they're from the last 15 years. They've recently improved tremendously. This is a semantic discussion I'll have with you during a break if you're very happy to go down that rabbit hole. But let me offer this. So far, we've heard about big companies taking something from us, right? Taking our data, taking our rights, taking copyrighted works, whatever, right? That sounds very negative, and surely there are some negative aspects to it. But we have two panelists here, Stephen and Braden, who are focused on conferring superpowers on individual users. And this is the promise of AI. And I really think we should spend at least a few minutes talking about that. How are you in your work, Stephen and Braden, how are you empowering individual people, creators, artists, to use AI to kind of like upscale and in a way supersize themselves so that they can compete with these big powers?
Yeah, I mean, the privacy issue comes in, and you know, it's part of our agenda to anything that you do on our platform is private. You're not training or putting data in that's going to end up in somebody else's search or query. But you know, there's a lot of areas where, and legal being one, where, you know, I believe there's this area called self-serve legal, where, you know, not everyone has access or can afford a lawyer to do everything. And to be able to draft something that's bespoke and then to be able to understand it at the same time are I think, very powerful tools. And then to be able to bring a lawyer in, because our platform works for individuals, for teams, for lawyers, to bring a lawyer in at the end if you do need a lawyer, just to have a last look or conversation. There's a lot of redundant tasks that we've been able to automate and use.
And just to put that, like, to give a for instance, you're talking about an artist, right, who probably is somebody who started playing music when they were a kid and now they're a teenager, and maybe they're talking to a label about a deal, and that person's going to get skinned alive. We all know that because those label attorneys do that same deal every single day. So they have information asymmetry. They have a tremendous advantage over somebody who's a creative artist who probably doesn't know that much about the law and doesn't realize the contract they're being presented with is grossly disfavorable to them. And so in a way, you're helping them use AI training to offset that disadvantage.
Exactly. I mean, our slogan is "Never sign a bad music deal again," right? And the ability to understand each clause, the ability to redraft, draft, the ability to run a report, and then also data mine. You know, you can extract the data and deliver to other systems. And there's a big problem in the music industry where the metadata of the deal is used everywhere from Spotify to royalty systems, and if that data is not correct, and quite often it's not because it's manually keystroked right now, you don't get paid. And so, you know, we solve that issue as well. But, you know, we've also, we've developed 18 courses, an animated series. The animated series is certainly not AI, but the 18 courses have been used to train our chatbot. So you can take the course or you can ask any question and learn that way.
I mean, it just happened recently, Taylor Swift, right? Big issue, lost her catalog, Scooter Braun sold it. She signed a bad deal. Long time ago. I mean, I think that when you're starting out and you're going to sign with a major label that's going to invest a lot of money, you know, you don't have the leverage to get a good deal, and there's nothing wrong with signing that deal if you understand it. Yeah.
And so I don't think there's really any bad deals. It's the lack of understanding of what you're signing. You make a business decision on whether you think that moment in your career it's worthwhile for what they're giving you back. There's no evil record label. The record label is investing and taking risk, and they're going to buy rights for it. And if you don't understand that, then you're signing a bad deal. And the more successful you have, Brandon has clients that are generating millions of views. Well, they have leverage in the negotiation. So they'll give up less rights or they'll have reversion of rights. But to understand that and to be able to have access to a tool that teaches you that, it helps you navigate that, I think is a powerful use of technology.
And it is one of the better use cases. Actually, it's a great use case for it.
Brandon, how are
Yep, I
how
was
the
gonna-
talent that you manage using artificial intelligence? Give us some
Yeah,
examples.
so two very interesting things. I think that one of the biggest things is Mr. Beast, who is, when you think about the creator economy, that's like the first name that pops into your head, developed an online website that's fully free that you guys can all look up called View Stats. And he made it himself for the reason of new creators. So there was never a way before that you could look up Mr. Beast and see how his last video is performing compared to his last 10 videos and why that actually happened and understand the science behind YouTube. If you just watch YouTube, you think, oh, someone's just making a video and they have such a big audience that this video is getting 10 or 20 million views. No one's thinking that YouTube videos, it's all based on data and conversions. I don't really care too much about what the video is about. It's about the thumbnail and it's about the content and the flow of the video. And the current way that YouTube has worked up to this point has been a guess and check method, where you have to post something on YouTube and see how it lands. With the advent of AI, you're now going to be able to use predictability using AI to actually check thumbnails, see how they're going to perform before you even post them. You can actually put in the video edit, and you're going to be able to see how many views that video is predicted to get. So now you're not just randomly posting to guess and check. You're actually posting a video you know is going to get 10 or 20 million views. And what that does is, if you have a brand associated with the video, you're now going to be able to go to them and actually give an actual estimate of how many views it's getting, instead of just being like, oh, my videos usually get 1 million views. Hopefully this video gets 1 million views. Which I think is going to change the entire game, because now brands are going to be able to know exactly how many views they're getting and actually price that accordingly instead of just guessing and throwing money away.
Predictive analysis.
100%.
So on your teams, your talent, that you have, they're all what age groups? Like pretty young, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say they're all, late teens, early 20s.
Okay. So what are they using AI for?
Yeah, so one of the major use cases right now is A/B testing for thumbnails, especially with YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, anything where you have like a cover photo. YouTube, it's the biggest thing. I mean, it's a conversion game. So you have something called a CTR, which is your click-through rate, and that completely either makes the video a winner or a loser. It just is. That's 50% of the video, just the photo of the video. If people don't click on the video does not get any views. So the difference between a 5% click-through rate and a 10% click-through rate will make or break Mr. Beast's month at his candy company. It just will, because if his video gets 80 million views compared to his usual 150 or 200 million views, that's probably going to be 10 or 20 million dollars he loses that month in chocolate sales. So it works the same way for any creator, because that, for bigger creators, that's 5 to 6 figures in difference between having a 5% or a 10% click-through rate. So now with the advent of having A/B testing, you can check which photo is going to perform better before you even post the video. So Mr. Beast can now go into it knowing that this thumbnail is going to have a 10 or 15% click-through rate, and it's actually going to project onto how many sales he's doing at his chocolate company. So it actually is a massive thing with the A/B testing of thumbnails.
Question.
I guess just trying to boil it all down. So we know, and I'm a creator, right? And we all know there's like Professor Amal at the Wharton School has done this study with BCG. We all know that one of the powerful things about these tools is they're a total talent leveler. They make everybody fantastic. And you're talking about content that's not as hard to create. Let's talk about. There's going to be a panel I'm hosting with Whistle Sports. He's like, listen, we in the prep call, it's like, yeah, we can crank out content pretty. So bigger question, right? So wait, so should we be as rewarding? Should copyright be rewarding these people that are actually creating content and it's super easy, right? Just want to put that out there about the copyright and everything else that's broken around authorship. That's really important stuff. And I'm curious, do the kids do they realize like that's not as hard?
Yeah, I mean, my question would be, where's the value scale for you as like what makes content easy to make versus hard to make? Because I would just say like, back in the day, I mean, Mr. Beast for one video, it's the same budget as a small film. I mean, he's putting $5, $10, $20 million into these videos, and some videos take 6 months to a year. So, I mean, if a movie takes the same amount to shoot as a Mr. Beast video does, I mean, at a certain point, that's also hard content to make. I think it depends on what the content is.
I was going to add something. Gary Vee spoke in Miami at Possible a few weeks ago, and he brought up the fact that their teams to your point, Braden, that spend all this time on thumbnails, like that's your gateway drug to your content. He also talked to a standing crowd of 1,000 marketers, CMOs from Ulta to General Motors, and said, and to agency heads, and he said, you guys are failing. He said, you're putting, and this is back to creative and you saying easy, I think. He said, you're putting your TV commercials online and that's your social strategy. He said, and he said to the crowd, and paraphrasing, you spent more money in 2 months, 2 years ago in the metaverse than you're spending this entire year on your social strategy. He said, and I'm happy to take your money. I have my own agency. He's got his own agency. He said, but there's room for a lot more of us. But people aren't thinking about social. They're thinking it's like a kid's thing. They're thinking it's like just fun. They're thinking it's just TikTok. This is really the platform, with AI included, that is the future, the now and the future of entertainment, of media consumption and commerce. And so I don't think, it might look easy, but I see it in my house, and there's a lot of work that goes behind it. Even for short form, forget long form. Even short form, there's a lot of work going behind it as far as what do they think is going to work, not just CTRs, which is critical, but engagement. Is your audience staying with you? If you're constantly, just like in advertising, if your audience is constantly churning, it's so much more work to have to keep building on your audience. So how do you keep the audience engaged? So I think there's a lot of work that goes behind it that we don't see. Maybe we're a little older and we're not the creators in that space. But I think, it's something to think about is, how do we convert the companies that we're currently working at? Like for us, from the advertising standpoint, which I know we were going to get to. Yep. And I'll just keep talking for a second because I have the mic. But last week, was anyone at the upfronts last week? A hand? Anyone? Okay, the TV upfronts. So, the upfronts are, if you don't know, when the TV companies, they generally TV, call them media companies, promote and share all their new programs, their new lineup, whether it's NBC with the Olympics or it was ABC Disney with ESPN bringing out Jason Kelce, right? And he announced that day he was going to be joining ESPN for the future. So they had all their song and dance, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, they all were there. And the one thread that I saw, and these are, your general market, your total market upfronts, their threads were all about data, AI, and how we're going to reach the right audience with the right message at the right time. And that's what they're all talking about. So back to your comment, too, about big tech, a lot of money is being spent by big tech, but I think big media is trying to catch up.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's the tech is actually, this is kind of leads it. I know you have something.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Go ahead.
Battle the Blackers.
Yeah, I mean, what I was just going to say is what I find interesting is like, I think that content is easier than ever to make. So I fully agree with that point. I think it's the easiest time to blow up as a content creator, if you actually use the technology. But then my counterpoint to that would be, you go on YouTube any day, I mean, there's only 10 or 15 creators that are on the trending feed. So my question then is, if content is super easy to make, then why is it so stagnant on the trending page? And why are there only like 10 creators that are doing great, which is like Mr. Beast, you have Jinxie, you have Sketch, who, I'm on the management team for. And, there's only a couple creators that are really actually popping. And I think that, it's great. You can get overwhelmed. There's so many amazing tools that makes content super easy to make. But at the end of the day, it's strategy. I mean, you can have a million different tools and stuff that you can use to make the content. You can have the best video editor, but if you don't actually have strategy behind it, and if you don't put in the hard work, that's why there's not that many creators that are actually popping on YouTube anymore. And like TikTok, maybe you get your 5 minutes of fame there, but there's not that many creators, even now, that actually have real core audience that can move products, create brands, develop actual fashion lines, and not just make merch. So I think that it's really the strategy and the business that's getting built around the creator, and it's not really the content anymore. The content's a great part. That's the marketing. But Mr. Beast, he has... his YouTube channel makes $35 million. That's great. Like that's a lot of money for a creator, but he's not in the business of being a YouTuber. He's in the business of being a chocolate maker because his Feastables made $300 million last year. And that's valued at $1.5 billion. So he realized, and the same thing, that me and my team do with creators such as Sketch, who's now the biggest male live streamer on Twitch and also one of the biggest YouTube creators, is you have a creator and that's great, but that's the marketing tool in the funnel. Now it's like, how do you make that a real business? And how do you grow products? And how do you grow stuff that's bigger than the creator? Because you're going to pretty much tap out at a couple $1 million or maybe $10 million on the YouTube channel. Mr. Beast is the biggest guy on social media, point blank, and he's making $35 million. So even if you do half as good as him, you're making 15 mil. That's not where you want to be as a creator. You want to be making $100 to $200 million a year at the bottom if you want to be one of the top creators. So what you have to do is actually build products and build brands. So that's where my head's at with that.
And I would assume AI would help you as well to figure out which brands, which types of products to create for those talents as well.
So I'm going to be counterpoint here.
Yeah, go. I'm
Only
going to give
because
us.
It's a small world here. So I actually helped launch Mr. Beast chocolate bars at Walmart, leading food marketing strategy. So when his agent called me and said, hey, and he had this whole pitch because he had an imagination, a story about who Walmart was, and he wasn't wrong. I, again, said I have a teenage son, so I already knew who Mr. Beast was. So I said, you can stop right there, Trevor. I know who Mr. Beast is. He's like, you do? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And bring him on. Bring him down to Bentonville. Let's talk about it. Then I had to pitch it to the merchants and who had no idea who Mr. Beast was. And again, back to your point, Braden, they also didn't really get YouTube. They're like, well, is that advertising? Is that what? When Mr. Beast tried out his merchandise strategy, he launched a Mr. Beast hamburger. And it was at this hamburger joint in North Carolina. His fans drove over 4 hours to stand in line to buy a hamburger that was branded by him. But it's a chicken and egg thing, which is what I hear you saying, Braden. What comes first? Would they have done that if he hadn't spent years creating this content platform on YouTube and a brand and all those things? Of course not. You can't just, and I think a lot of people just think, oh, well, AI will make it so easy and I can create this content and I'm going to be a millionaire. No, this is still the hard work that all of us have been engaged in for a very long time, which is strategy, which is actually thinking it through, which is authenticity, right? People follow Mr. Beast because he's authentic. He didn't go to market originally and say, I'm going to be a YouTube star and I'm going to be a chocolate bar maker. No, that came afterwards. And he's a very smart businessman. He's a very kind man who said, I have this brand and this platform that I can monetize and I want to create healthy snacks for gamers because I know my audience and I know what they're consuming and I want to do it better. Didn't want to, cure cancer or anything like that, but it was a very practical strategy based on the realities of the marketplace. And oh, by the way, he brought it to Walmart because again, remember what I said, 150 million people walk through Walmart stores every week. He didn't take it to some high cost, whatever. He knew who his audience was and he brought the product to it and it flew off the shelves. He's not alone in that, but that's strategy. That's not just throw things against the wall. That's not just ask the AI, what should I do? You have to know your audience. And I know that sounds basic, but AI is not going to change that. Now, AI can help you know your audience faster, better, deeper, because of the knowledge it has. But I personally believe, this is my optimistic back to it's not all doom and gloom. Creativity is a human thing. Creativity of being able to connect with other humans. You can get AI to go so far that there's still that intangible of human-to-human connection that creates authenticity, that creates trust. And that's where the hard work is. You can't just, it'll give you the tools to be able to do it, but there still needs to be a human mind and heart behind it to actually do great.
We have 3 minutes. I've got one more question, but Steve?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think it goes, and you could probably talk about this, Robert, but the writer's strike in Hollywood, a big part of that strike was using AI to write, and having to disclose it, which I think is what happened in the settlement, right? The fear that AI is going to take away that job, and currently it's a good supplement to the job. It's a helpful tool, but the question is, does it get to the point where it can replace? I don't think that's coming anytime soon, but that's interesting.
And a reason why I couldn't get anybody from a couple of the media companies I talked to come on this panel. They were not going to stand up and talk about AI at all, in any way, shape, or form, because of the controversies, because of the strikes, and potential more strikes that are actually happening. They are very, very clear that it's here to stay, but they're staying not even, no mention, no nothing, 0, 0, 0. I have one kind of question, rapid fire. We have 2 minutes. Who are the winners and who are the losers in AI? Thoughts?
Yeah, I think the real winners, in my opinion, are two people. So I think one of them is in the creator economy. It's the starting off creator, because before everything was gatekept. If you wanted to get the information that's on ViewStats and on Social Blade and websites like that actually give you day-to-day statistics on Mr. Beast and like whoever your favorite creator is that you want to mimic, it'll give you all the data behind why their video is doing well. It's not because just they have a big fan base or a lot of people following. It's because there's actual data and there's millions of dollars going into every second of his video. Like, people don't understand that. There are millions of dollars going to every second of his 20-minute long video, and even the photo goes through about 150 iterations. So that's millions of dollars as well, just on the thumbnail. So I think that the starting creator wins. And then in terms of businesses, I mean, obviously the owners of the businesses are going to win from this because they're going to eventually start cutting out employees using AI. So I feel like those are the two winners in my opinion.
Winners, losers?
I think the winners and losers could be the same. I think it's all of us. Because if we're not thoughtful and we don't have a history of being very thoughtful on these kinds of technological innovations, we get 5 or 10 years down the road and like, oh shit, why did we do it this way? So I think it could be both. Tech companies will always be winners because they're making money, but is that how you define winning?
I agree with that. I think that everyone kind of wins and loses. I think if you, in the music industry, there's a win as far as you can use it as a great tool for creation. But I think that, a lot of the smaller creators are not going to get the benefit of their music being used to train. I think if you're on a major label or if you're one of the big companies, that they'll extract revenue, but the independents are not going to be able to extract the revenue.
Liz?
I don't love the word loser, but I think there are people who benefit more, people who benefit less. And I think that as a tech company that works with agencies and clients, I feel that we have a lot of benefits coming out of it, just being smarter to super serve our clients and agencies and brands to effectively connect with audiences using AI and ML and our household graph in a smart way. I think that from a personal standpoint, we definitely need to figure out some guardrails going forward, thinking 10, 20, 30 years down the road. But I generally like, when I opt in, some of the ability to reach me in a more effective way. So, but I think it's like the Wild West, like we said a little bit right now. We don't really know what we don't know yet. So let's talk in 6 months or a year and see where we are.
Robert?
In terms of winners and losers, I think that the organizations and individuals that lean into this technology and start to really understand how to use it and are willing to examine their workflow and break down their workflow and find places that can be automated, those are the people that are going to succeed. They're going to get benefit from this. And the people who resist it, or the people who think that copyright law or some labor union contract is going to somehow protect them from the future, those people are definitely doomed.
I liked it. It was very short.
And with that.
And with that, please thank the panel. Give them a round of applause.